I still don't know Kung Fu. Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and today I'm reviewing The Matrix Resurrections, the fourth movie in this franchise, directed by one of the two Wachowskis, Lana Wachowski. And I know what you're thinking. Dave, this is a horror channel. What are you doing reviewing The Matrix on it? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. It's called The Matrix Resurrections, right? It involves characters who previously were dead, and they have been brought back to life, right? So you're going to sit there, look me in the eye, and tell me that that's not a zombie movie? So, The Matrix Resurrections, the new zombie sci-fi action movie by director Lana Wachowski, and we're talking about it here on Halloween Year Round. I know that was a bit of a stretch, and that's kind of the point. So, right off the bat, I was a huge fan of this series as a kid. I was in middle school when the sequels came out, and those are my formative years of becoming like a movie lover and really getting into like genre stuff. And The Matrix had it had an impact on me. I loved it. So I felt like it had been kind of neatly wrapped up. I know a lot of people weren't crazy about the second and third one. I will defend those sequels. And I felt like, well, it kind of ended. So why are we doing this? Do we need it? Yeah. Keanu's having kind of a resurgence with the whole John Wick thing. Love those movies. And yeah, the world has certainly changed in the last 20-odd years. The Matrix would look very different with things like smartphones and all that. But ultimately, what's the point? Why do we need another Matrix movie? So I went into this movie with that kind of apprehension. The trailers admittedly looked cool, but I still went in thinking, I hope it justifies its need to exist. I hope it's not just another one of these soft reboots that's technically a sequel, but just, they're just trying to make a new movie for new fans. And much to its credit, it's actually really good. I was not expecting that. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. So I'm going to try to not get too much into spoilers. This is going to be a minor spoiler review. So fast forward, I think they said it's 60 years since the Matrix Revolutions, and Neo and Trinity, who both famously died at the end of that movie, have been resurrected. They've been brought back to life by the machines, and they are living in the Matrix, where Thomas Anderson, played by a John Wick-looking Keanu Reeves, is a video game developer. And the first major kind of bombshell this movie drops is the Matrix trilogy, as we in society know it, is known to him and everyone in the Matrix because it's a best-selling video game. And I just thought, what a cool idea that's not only meta, but kind of just the whole concept of, they're in the Matrix, they're sleeping, they're not dreaming, they're not aware of what's right under their nose. And the fact that the whole storyline of this sci-fi game is actually the truth hiding right under their nose. It would be like discovering that the origin of the universe was Star Wars, that when it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it'd be like finding out that Star Wars actually happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's the impact that having the Matrix be a popular video game in the Matrix is. So I really like that concept. It does sort of mirror the first movie in a way where it's about Neo waking up, discovering, the real world, discovering kind of the past between humans and machines. But there's more to it than that. One of the things I most liked about this was a lot of these sequel reboots, it's just a term I use, they kind of ignore the other sequels and they just want to be a direct sequel to the original. This very much follows what happened in Revolutions, and the actions and events of Revolutions still play out here, where we find out what happened to Zion after the battle, after Neo saved them, where we find out that the truce between humans and machines actually started to lead to some conflict between the machines, and they were fighting each other. And now in this present, you have some machines that are allied with the humans, and they kind of make a big deal of the point that back in Neo's day, everything was black and white, humans good, machines bad, and now it's all kind of it's much more gray than that, and I think that's such a fascinating idea. So a couple other highlights. I was kind of upset that Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving were not reprising their roles. Lawrence Fishburne makes sense because Morpheus himself is, again, it's been like 60 years. So Morpheus is not really the Morpheus we knew, but he's like a digital copy of Morpheus. Basically, Neo designed a program called Morpheus that was kind of just meant to remind him that, oh, hey, you're Neo. And he is played brilliantly by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who I'm a huge fan of, especially from Aquaman and Candyman earlier this year. So I feel like he nailed it. He nailed that kind of weird, dreamlike quality of Morpheus, that he's always kind of distant. Morpheus was not a guy that people described as down to earth, and I think Yahya plays that very well. I think that he toes the line perfectly between Morpheus being, kind of human, at least based on a human, but still a computer program. So I love how he, especially through the new character of Morpheus, this movie really demonstrates just how changed the world is. There's plenty of callbacks to the original trilogy. I feel like they work because, again, it's not for fan service. It's quite literally the events of those movies are still having effects now. Not all of it works, though. And I'm going to tell you right now, I really liked this movie. I would not say I loved it, and it's because of these few things that I think just kind of hold it back a little bit. On the subject of people being recast, like I said, I was upset that Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving didn't come back. Lawrence Fishburne made sense. Hugo Weaving did not. So, first of all, Smith is back, but he's played by Jonathan Groff, who I loved in Hamilton. Even though he's only got like 3 scenes, he stole the show. Love him in Hamilton. Love him as King George III. He's hilarious when he does the da-da-da-da-da. For those who have seen Hamilton, you know what I'm talking about. But he's not Hugo Weaving. And I get that you could tell that he's not trying to just do an impression of Weaving, because you're never going to do it. He's kind of trying to make the character his own, but in doing so, it doesn't feel like Smith. And if you think about it, why is Smith still here? And why is he working with... There's a lot of things that don't make sense. Jonathan Groff Smith being one of them. He was probably my least favorite part of the movie, which I feel bad saying because I loved him in Hamilton. Neil Patrick Harris was surprisingly... I guess I shouldn't say surprisingly, because I'm a big fan of his. I think that he's got so much energy and charisma. And casting him, I mean, he's basically your, like, architect-like character, which, if you remember in the Matrix Reloaded, the architect was, like, the most dense guy in the world. No lie, I watched that. So, again, I was in middle school when Reloaded and Revolutions came out. I watched the scene from The Architect on DVD, and literally I would pause it, and I had I looked up every word in the dictionary that he was saying, like, anomaly and irrevocably and inexorably, so that I could kind of understand what he was saying. And after watching the scene a few times and looking up the words, I kind of got the gist of it. Neil Patrick Harris has that role. He's got a lot of exposition to dump on us, but he does it with all the charisma we're used to from Neil Patrick Harris. So he's less machine than the architect was. But ironically, I think that makes him even deadlier, because he's a villain who... The architect struggled to understand humanity. To him, it was all just math and equations. To Neil Patrick Harris's character, to his machine program, it's almost like he knows how to get humans because he understands them so much better. he almost is one. So I think that makes he's definitely the better villain between him and fake Agent Smith. And just as far as the action goes, cool action scenes. Apparently, Neo and Trinity are Jedi now because they can just do this and send people flying. I know he stopped bullets like with his mind before, but he never did like force push like Anakin and Obi-Wan did on their fight on Mustafar. So that was kind of fun. The only other real criticism I guess I would have is I love the return of some of the old characters, without getting too much. Some famous faces from the original pop up again. As far as the new characters go, the new crew that kind of finds Neo and rescues him from the Matrix. Again, they're kind of doing the same motions as the original did. The only difference being that original crew, 5 minutes after meeting them, I felt like I knew each one of them. They each had such a unique, distinct personality, and I felt like they each stood out. I remember every single one of them. I remember Dozer, I remember Tank, I remember Switch, I remember, what's his name, Mouse. Like, they were, Cypher, they had such unique personalities that they were easy to remember. This crew, nothing against them. I just watched the movie this morning, and I kind of forget most of them, other than, their captain. So, as far as criticisms go, not too much. There was more that I liked about this movie than I disliked. I definitely want to watch it again. In true Matrix form, it does feel like, kung fu movie / philosophy class, but the philosophy part, they definitely toned it down from Reloaded and Revolutions. And it really kind of hones in on what this series was always about. It's about free will and choice. And I think it explores it in a way that feels all the more relevant now, than it did in 1999. So let me know what you thought of it. Let me know how you liked it compared to the originals. Leave me a comment. Do you hope they do more of them? It is kind of somewhat left open to do more. And I think if it makes a lot of money, Warner Brothers will not be able to resist the urge. So let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you will be trapped in the Matrix with fake Agent Smith wishing it was Hugo Weaving. As always, my name is Dave, and every day is Halloween.